that it's the taking of an action, taking an active role in that rising up from this position that circumstances have you in. That's going to break you free. Hey there. Are you a Christian woman who's ready to strengthen your faith and stop the madness in your mind? The worry, doubt, anxiety. Do you want something more for your life but are not sure where to even begin? You've come to the right place. Hi, I'm Kristin Campbell. I'm excited that you're here as we journey together to discover mindset renewal and empowered faith for the Christian woman. Have you ever heard the children's song, Rise and Shine, Give God the Glory, Glory? I don't know the official name, and you're in for a treat because I'm about to attempt to sing it. So go ahead, hit the skip ahead 15 seconds button if you want. I am not offended. Here goes nothing. The song is Rise and shine and give God the glory, glory. Rise and shine and give God the glory, glory. Rise and shine and give God the glory, glory. Children of the Lord. Okay, personally, I find it very irritating. And it's really because of my mom and my aunt. See, when I was younger, our family used to go on vacations to the beach every summer. And many of those summers, it would be my family, my grandparents, my aunt, uncle, cousins. We would all share one cottage. And in our teenage years, I can remember that we used to sleep in, or we tried to. But then my mom and my aunt would barge into our rooms singing this song and clapping their hands to get us out of bed and onto the beach. And as you can imagine, my teenage self hated this, and it stuck with me as the top 5 annoying songs of all times until recently when I read Isaiah 60, verse 1 in the Amplified. Here, I became aware of a hidden and powerful truth that this little ditty tells us, and I want to explore this with you today. Isaiah 60, verse 1 in the Amplified says, "Arise from the depression and prostration in which circumstances have kept you. Rise to a new life. Shine, be radiant with the glory of the Lord, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you." Are circumstances keeping you in a state of depression? And I want to clarify that depression comes in all shapes and sizes. Most often, people think of depression as major depressive disorder, MDD. And this is the classic type, characterized by an all-consuming dark mood, loss of interest in activities, trouble sleeping, change in appetite or weight, feeling worthless, having these suicidal ideations. And now this major depression, this needs to be treated with therapy and potentially medication, not a podcast, because this interferes or can stop altogether the ability to function in day-to-day living. Yet this is not the only type of depression. In fact, there are some categories of depression where people are able to function in day-to-day living, but still there's this persistent low mood or joylessness that surrounds everything. And it can lead to a change in appetite or sleep patterns, low energy, low self-esteem, even hopelessness. And this is described as persistent depressive disorder. And it is more common than I think people realize. And there's a broad spectrum of several types of depression, and they lie all over the continuum. There's bipolar, there's seasonal, there's atypical, there's PMDD. And listen, I want to reiterate, I am not a psychotherapist. This is a podcast, not therapy. I am sharing from my personal experience, my own understanding. So this is not clinical or medical advice in any way, shape, or form. I'm bringing this up to say that depression is not something to fear or be ashamed of. It's not something to try to hide. In fact, hiding it actually really adds to that depressed feeling, because the enemy will lie to you and he'll heap shame on you to keep you isolated. And please, I want to encourage you to reach out for professional help if you need it. I also want to encourage you to not quickly dismiss this idea, because you may be allowing circumstances to keep you in a depressive mindset. And what do you do with that? What do you do with that? Maybe it's mild, but it's still a depressive mindset. And I've been there. And there were times where I wasn't fully aware of how much I was coming into agreement with the depression, how much I allowed the low mood and the lack of interest to control my decisions. Perhaps you're there now. Maybe you've been stuck in this bleh place where you are you're actually giving power and authority over to your circumstances for them to control your outlook, your energy, your behaviors, your decisions. And I want us to look closely at what God is telling us to do here in Isaiah 60, verse 1. He says, arise from this. It's action. Rise up, rise from the prostration. And the definition of that word can mean laying down on the ground, like on your face, being weak or subservient, and even emotional exhaustion. Isaiah 60 verse 1 tells us that it's the taking of an action, taking an active role in that rising up from this position that circumstances have you in. That's going to break you free. And if you remember COVID, you probably know what I'm describing here. Personally, I feel like the enemy put this heavy weighted COVID blanket of yuck on us. And many of us may still be stuck under it in certain areas of our life. We may be functioning day to day, but our joy is lacking. Our connections, our energy levels, our interests. How do we break free from that? And I believe it's going to require action, rising up in the Lord. Again, I am not a therapist, yet I have had enough personal experience, which I'll talk from, and I've even had some professional experiences through coaching to say that I have yet to find an instance where someone, or even myself, was able to think themselves out of a depressed state, or think themselves out of feeling lonely or low. It has, in my experience, always required taking action. Whether it's as simple as texting a trusted friend, or going out to a social event, even with butterflies in your stomach. It's this reaching out, taking action, rising up from underneath the weight of the circumstances. Because you may not have control over your circumstances. Your circumstances may never change. And this is so hard to come to terms with. Yet you still have choice. And as a follower of Christ, you have His power as well. Romans 8:11 tells us the Spirit of God that raised Christ from the dead lives in us. We are capable because of His Spirit within. This rising up is a choice that we make coming into agreement with the Lord. I want you to listen to this story in John chapter 5, verses 1 through 8. Sometime later, Jesus went up to Jerusalem for one of the Jewish festivals. Now there is in Jerusalem near the sheep gate a pool, which in Aramaic is called Bethesda, and which is surrounded by 5 covered colonnades. Here a great number of disabled people used to lie: the blind, the lame, the paralyzed. One who was there had been an invalid for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, "Do you want to get well?" "Sir," the invalid replied, "I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. While I am trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me." Then Jesus said to him, "Get up, pick up your mat, and walk." At once the man was cured. He picked up his mat and walked. Now there's 2 things here. First, the invalid had a choice. He could have stayed laying down. He had for 38 years before. He had to first choose to believe Jesus so that he could then choose to take action. Because if you notice, this is my second point, he never really answers Jesus' question to him, "Do you want to get well?" He replies with excuses of what has stopped him from healing in the past. He never exclaims, "Yes, I want that." He is probably emotionally exhausted, weighed down after 38 years. But you know what I love? Jesus understood that and healed him still. You may be there. Can I encourage you to have just a smidgen of faith and rise up from your circumstances, to shine, for your light has come. Jesus is the light of the world. Jesus is the glory of the Lord upon you. Taking the action in your life, no matter how small, taking it in faith, trusting the Lord is who he says he is, and that he is with you through every circumstance, allowing his glory to shine upon you no matter what is happening, step by step with Jesus. Allow him to direct your action. I know it's tempting, especially during the holidays, to isolate, to stay buried under your circumstances, under your past, under the familiar, under your hurts. Yet your light has come. The glory of the Lord has risen upon you. It's time to sing again. It's time to rise and shine and give God the glory. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. I hope you walked away a little stronger in your faith and freer in your mind. You are so loved. If you like this episode, share it with a friend. Leave your ratings and reviews, and engage with me on social media. I'd love to hear from you.